Ayooluwa Okediji is a visionary entrepreneur, corporate strategist, and agribusiness consultant with nearly 2 decades of experience driving innovation, digital transformation, and market expansion in the agri-food sector. As the founder and CEO of Agro-Infotech Africa Group, he has pioneered high-impact solutions that optimize value chains, enhance market access, and build sustainable agribusiness models. His expertise spans business consulting, technology integration, and corporate innovation, positioning him as a leading force in transforming Africa's food and agricultural systems. Ayooluwa has led the development of industry-defining initiatives through various transformative frameworks integrating livestock, crop system, and digital infrastructure to optimize productivity and profitability. His work in digital traceability and quality assurance systems has strengthened compliance and risk resilience across value chains, ensuring the authenticity and safety of agricultural products. He has also designed innovative agribusiness finance structures, unlocking investment opportunities, cooperative-driven capital mobilization, and financial inclusion for agri-food stakeholders. In addition, he has been instrumental in scaling alternative feed solutions, particularly in the development of high-quality feed production models that reduce input costs and improve the efficiency of livestock farming. As a strategic consultant, Ayooluwa works at the intersection of business structuring, policy advocacy, and capacity building, collaborating with industry leaders, farmer cooperative government, and development organizations to drive value chain competitiveness. His efforts in digital agricultural extension services have empowered thousands of farmers with real-time advisory, data-driven decision-making tools, and market intelligence. With a deep understanding of enterprise growth and sustainability, he continues to develop scalable, technology-driven models that accelerate agribusiness transformation. Beyond consulting, Ayooluwa is a thought leader, trainer, and speaker, shaping conversation on agribusiness innovation, economic empowerment, and corporate transformation. His strategic insights on business sustainability, value chain optimization, and investment structuring are widely sought after by industry professionals and policy makers. His contributions to entrepreneurship, digital agriculture, and financial inclusion are setting new standards for excellence in the global agri-food ecosystem. Under his leadership, Agro-Infotech Africa Group, a tiered consortium comprising Agro-Infotech Consulting Limited, Agro-Infotech Labs Limited, and Agri-Business Dynamics Technology Limited, is at the forefront of leveraging emerging technologies to empower farmers, agribusinesses, and value chain stakeholders. Through his expertise and vision, Ayooluwa continues to build sustainable food systems, drive economic growth, and redefine the future of agribusiness in Africa and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, it's my pleasure to invite the keynote speaker of Oyo Poultry Mega Workshop, Mr. Ayooluwa Okediji, founder and CEO, Agro-Infotech Africa.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to CEO Africa. I'm seeing the presentation for the first time. It was my profile, but this is the first time I'm seeing the video mix and all of that. So that's very wonderful. Thank you very much. Permit me to appreciate this opportunity to be able to share this moment with us. It's an honor, for me to address this gathering, and I want to respectfully appreciate Baba. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your mentorship, for the guidance, for the Poultry Association of Nigeria, not just in Oyo State, even across the country. I'm also permitted to recognize a lot of people that I just need to appreciate as foundational mentors in this industry. I'm proud to say that the Poultry Association has given someone like me a stepping board when I came into the industry, and I want to appreciate everybody that has contributed to that that we've been able to achieve so far. It's nice to also have Reverend, nice to have you, sir, and Chairman Plus. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Let me also appreciate the past chairman from Baba Ayooluwa to Baba Okediji, and Chairman, thank you very much for the honor and the opportunity to be able to share this moment with us. Can I have my slide, please? So permit me to use this space. I mean, once in a while I'll come here, but I'll just use this to be able to speak to what I have on the screen. So thank you very much. We are here today to really understand how we can strengthen our poultry farming businesses through cooperative synergy and strategic investments. I put it here that it is towards ensuring sustainability and global competitiveness. It's an opportunity for me to be here today at the Oyo State Mega Poultry Workshop 2025 of the Poultry Association of Nigeria Oyo State Branch. And I want to thank the executives of the Poultry Association of Nigeria Oyo State Branch for this opportunity. I don't need to go into this again. A wonderful introduction has been done about my profile and the little we've been able to do in this industry. I lead the team at Agri-Infotech Africa, and once again, my name is Ayooluwa Okediji. Basically, what we do, we are leveraging innovation and emerging technologies for the agri-food business re-engineering. It's a lot of tech words, but I should mention to us that Agri-Infotech Africa has been in existence since 2006. And this is what we have been doing full time. We have worked with major practitioners across the agri-food value chain, especially the poultry industry. And we have been a part of so many, impactful projects, as been mentioned on my profile. So, just as an introduction, poultry farming in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa is at a pivotal moment. And I'm starting by explaining that we are going through a lot. And I'm going to be speaking to some data that will speak to some of the challenges that we are facing and the best way that we can actually come out of it. Despite the sheer determination that we all have, because poultry farmers are hard workers, it's very strange to have poultry farmers in one room like this, if it's not because you are celebrating your anniversary. Poultry farmers are always on their farms, or they are in the feed mill, or they are trying to sort a problem or the other. It's really a very difficult time, and I hope and pray that we are going to thrive beyond this time to be able to weather the storms that we are presently facing. The fragile model of what we have as poultry farmers, it poses a lot of serious risk to food security, economic growth, and employment. My assignment today is to highlight critical challenges and present innovative practical solutions for sustainable poultry farming. I have some statistics here that I'll just speak to. This is about the Nigerian poultry industry. And this is an updated statistics as far back, as early as 2024. The Nigeria poultry population is a little bit over 200 million birds that are placed annually. I need to mention that because most times when they are trying to run the statistics of this industry, people miss out to understand that poultry farming is in cycles. It is not a permanent structure you just put down and you expect it, apart from the building and the cage. But the operationality of what you do is on a cyclic basis. Egg production, Nigeria produces over 650 billion naira worth of eggs annually. Approximately, it's around 10 billion eggs. Meat production accounts for 30%. Poultry meats account for 30% of the total meat consumption in Nigeria. And I should say that it is chicken and egg that is the most affordable protein in this country today. Chicken is cheaper than beef. Chicken is cheaper than fish. In terms of GDP contribution, the livestock sector contributes 7 to 10% of Nigeria's agricultural GDP. And poultry is the largest contributor within the livestock sector. I want us to be taking note of these key points. In terms of Smallholder farmers' dominance. Over 60% of poultry production comes from smallholder farmers that have less than 1,000 birds, either broilers or layers. In terms of employment, the poultry industry or the value chain itself presently employs or supports over 25 million Nigerians. That is more than 10% of this country's population. Now, I'm going to drill it down a bit into Oyo State. Oyo State, I call it the poultry powerhouse of Nigeria. And it's not because we are just in Oyo State. It is because, truly, Oyo State is the poultry powerhouse. And we are speaking to that because Oyo State contributes 11% to Nigeria's total poultry production. We might look at 11% as a small number. But if you look at the statistics of other states, it is closely followed by Lagos and Ogun states. They are dragging that next 7-8%. It is home to the highest concentration of breeder farms and hatcheries in the country. If we think about this, it will let us know that the foundation of poultry business are the breeder farms. Do we agree? And the hatcheries. Because there's no broiler farm, there's no layer farm without the breeder farms and the hatcheries. Oyo State holds the largest day-old chicks market in sub-Saharan Africa. And they are trading over 10 million birds weekly. Now, I'm not saying this is the total trade in that market. But what is being moved from each of the hatchery owners to other farms is actually, around this figure. In terms of infrastructure and market access, we have a lot of key poultry clusters that exist in Ibadan, Oyo, Isheyin, Ogbomoso, and Okeogun zones. Eggs and broilers from Oyo are distributed to neighboring states like Lagos, Ogun, Kwara, and Osun, while day-old chicks move beyond Nigeria's borders. What we're saying is that from Oyo State, day-old chicks move to Ghana, moves to Togo, moves to, other regional areas. Now, the challenges facing poultry businesses, in terms of, I've mentioned the strategic contribution of the poultry industry to Nigeria's agricultural sector, and our farms are struggling, are stagnating, and even some of them are presently shut down. Livestock subsector contributes 25% to Nigeria's agricultural GDP. It accounts for 30% of Nigeria's livestock GDP. The poultry industry accounts for 30% of the entire livestock GDP. And in total, the poultry industry contributes 10% to Nigeria's total agricultural GDP. Again, I'm now going to run through what a survey we did last year in Oyo State. Over 65% of small farms and medium poultry farms in Oyo State are presently operating below 50% of their installed capacity. Nearly 2 in 4 farms have shut down presently or suspended operations due to high input cost and market instability. What does this mean? If we ask 4 farmers to stand up now at random, you are likely to see 2 out of them that have shut down their operations. And we're able to, this sample was across 150 farms, across all the 5 zones in Oyo State. And if we look at these charts, the blue line is actually what they presently have in stock. The red line is their installed capacity. What does this mean? For a farm that has, let's say, a 10,000 capacity in terms of maybe their the stocking capacity, they have less than 5,000 birds on their farm today. As at this morning when we're even, discussing, one farmer just mentioned that, he just had to keep 200 birds on the farm so that, and in February, when there was a spike in the cost of egg, he was almost regretting that why did I even shut down in the first place? The challenges that are facing poultry business are so many things I'm going to be discussing. And I'm now going to, before we delve into the solutions that we're proposing today, and before I delve into this, let me say that it is important for us to understand the dynamics of the industry where we operate. We are not alone. As at yesterday, the United States is importing eggs from South Korea and Turkey because they had an incidence of AI, just like, some few months ago. And they lost almost 160 million birds. So as a result of that, the present egg that they produce in the United States is not enough again. And they are importing from Turkey, they are importing from South Korea. Someone asked me this morning, can't we export from Nigeria? There are so many stories to that, because our production practices does not encourage export yet. So, there's a feed cost crisis. The high costs of production and feed dependency, we all know that feed accounts for nothing less than 60 to 70%, even in some cases. Some people will argue that it's up to 80% of the total cost of production. Price fluctuations due to the exchange rates, feed ingredients shortages, and inflation makes cost prediction to be very difficult. Our grand patron has speak so much into this initially, and I just want us to realize that there's a reason for all this repetition. Over reliance on important feed components. I'm not saying that we are importing all the components, but the fact remains that we don't have enough maize and soybean, which is like the major component of this 70% feed, and we are now leveraging on importation. Feed components and all these importations, they weaken the resilience of the players in the industry. Market instability and poor value addition, because this is leading to us having volatile markets and low returns. When there is oversupply of eggs, we call it glut. And I think every poultry farmer is always afraid of that. And you know that glut does not just happen to egg farmers alone. It also happens to broiler farmers, especially when they don't have enough storage to be able to put what they have produced. The lack of storage and processing facilities forces farmers to sell their birds at low prices, especially broiler farmers. Poultry farmers are price takers. We are not price makers. What does this mean? It is whatever the industry or whatever the situation of the country gives to us that we take. We don't have that strength of being able to dictate our own price and be able to stay with that price, despite the fact that we are producing almost at a loss. And this is reducing our profitability. There's limited access to sustainable financing. Please, I want us to note that I'm not just saying financing. I'm talking about sustainable financing. And this is limiting a lot of things, even in terms of succession gaps. I was in one of the poultry cooperatives meeting that we had some weeks ago. And someone was asking me, are you a farmer? And respectfully, I told them, sorry, I'm not a farmer. And I choose not to be a farmer. I choose not to be a farmer because my parents are farmers, and I understand what we face growing up. So I don't want to be like my dad when it comes to the business that he chose. But I found myself in a sector that I'm passionate about, and my contribution is to leverage on whatever I can leverage on to solve the problem of other farmers like my dad. So what I'm trying to say is that it is not everybody that must be a farmer for them to be able to operate within the poultry industry. We should all have our specific roles that we are playing, and we should be able to make do with what we're able to achieve. Thank you very much. Most poultry farmers rely on personal savings and high interest loans. Banks are. That's why we are brought you here today. We also know that it's not in the hands of banks, because some investors have put their money to establish a bank. And what they're expecting is return on investments. So if you expect a bank to give you money for free, you are only going to deceive yourself. And I've heard so many stories of a lot of bad, loans that poultry farmers are not paying back and all of that. The bankers will see today that we are not in control of so many things. So it's not our fault that we are owing them. But it is our fault that we are not putting ourselves together in unison to be able to fight some of these challenges. And that's what we are here to discuss today. Cooperatives are not well structured to attract institutional investors. Even for existing cooperatives, we are limiting ourselves to what we can contribute within ourselves and what we can loan from the bank. There's no bank that will give you less than the 28 or 30% interest rate that they are giving. Let's be honest with ourselves. And for us to expect government to do the work, we are only going to deceive ourselves continuously. The education sector is pulling government. Health sector is pulling government. Agric is pulling government. And they have limited resources to share around. So a time will come when we realize that we have our life in our hands and we just have to make do with that we have. Another problem here is that there is no clear succession planning. Which means that businesses often die with their founders. My father's farm is in Idiba, opposite Ilora Junction. It's not too far from Joslat Farms, for those of us that understand that environment. I still argued with my mom last week when we had to hire some people to go and cut the grasses. Because the farm is there, and we are only using money to cut the grasses. My dad is late now. He died 16 years ago. And ever since he left, the farm has been there. We are not interested. Because we understand that you can't practice it at that level. So what I'm trying to say is that most of the infrastructures that we are building today, our children will not be interested. Because they are not ready to face the challenges that their parents face. No matter how much more we want to, make it sound. For the sake of relationship, some of them will be telling, Daddy, Mommy, don't worry. We are going to take care of the farm. Send them to Canada. Send them to US. You will realize that they are not coming back. And a poultry farm is a permanent structure that is very difficult. They are not really movable. And you realize that, we get ourselves into building all those structures thinking that we are trying to protect the future of our children. But at the end of the day, you realize that they will not be interested. And it's not their fault. They just don't want to be like their parents. I don't want to be like mine in terms of the business that they went into. But I'm still within the agricultural space. And I think they are proud of what I do now. Thank you very much. Another point here is that we have... Okay. So these three challenges I've mentioned, they lead to high mortality rates among poultry businesses. They are reducing the sector's ability to create wealth, jobs, and ensure food security. Now, let me give a little analysis. For someone that has 100 layer birds in their backyard, and they are achieving 75% production, how many eggs are they getting? 75. 75 eggs is how many crates? 2.5 crates. 2.5 crates in 30 days. What do we have? Around 375. 75 crates. Now, 75 crates multiplied by 5,000. Let's just say 5. I know you are not selling at 5,000, but let's say 5,000. How much do we have? 375,000. Let us assume that your cost of production is 80%. How much is left? It should be 75,000. 80%, if that's your cost of production. So you have 75,000 left. How much is minimum wage today? How much is the announced minimum wage? I'm not saying how much they are collecting. How much are they announced? 70,000. So what does that mean? If you have a young person that is empowered with just 100 birds, they can make a profit at their backyard that equates to the same minimum wage that the government will give them. 100 birds. But they need to do it rightly. And they need to do it within a structured environment. And that's why we are talking about what we are looking at today. So, I'm going to speak into some insights that I want us to draw from. And I'm going to be using 3 examples. One that we're a bit familiar with, and maybe others that are in other climes. So I'm going to be talking about the First Bank of Nigeria. How many of us knows First Bank? How many First Bank customers are here? Don't worry, they are not here to check if you are owing them or not. Just if you have a First Bank account. Okay, almost 40%. Oh, for one loan. Okay, chairman sir. Only First Bank for one loan, sir. Now, what I'm speaking to today is that the First Bank of Nigeria is over 126 years old as of today. I think they are 130 something. But this data that I have, confirms that they are 126 years of age. There's nobody that's 126 years here. So what it means is that there is a Nigerian institution that has been in existence in the last over 100 years. How many farms do you have in Nigeria today that has existed in the last 100 years? How many farms? Not even just poultry. Just mention any farm. So the question is why? I'm going to be speaking to another bank that is called Rabobank. Maybe some of us have heard about this. Rabobank is a cooperative bank with a 130 years legacy. Landus Cooperative is another one I'm going to be speaking to. Landus Cooperative is a U.S. farmer-owned cooperative. Please note, farmer-owned cooperative. And it's been in existence since 1888. So what I'm trying to tell us is that these 3 examples I'm given, they've been in existence in the last over 100 years. And I'm going to, as I said, start with First Bank. So what are the things that made First Bank to still be in existence? Adaptability and innovation. The ability of First Bank to be able to adapt to technological advancements and changing market conditions. Not just First Bank. UBA is like 75 years. So you see that, they are also in the progression of that level of growth. Changing market conditions. Leveraging digital platforms to enhance customer service and expand its reach. So my dad used to bank with Union Bank. And anytime I follow him to Union Bank, the one in, we call it Ojodo in Owode in Oyo. The one just at the junction of Odueron for those that knows Union Bank. There's always a ledger that is going to go with. And they will carry one big book and trace where his name is to look for the amount he has left, and they will do manual balancing. Thank you, sir. That used to be in the days. But even microfinance banks, as of today, they are trying to evolve into the digital economy in terms of making sure that they are able to stay in tune with all these advancements. When it comes to customer service, it was First Bank that started that initiative of customer first. And these are some of the things that help them to build strong customer relationships. And these are things we are saying that poultry cooperatives can replicate by fostering community ties and providing employment opportunities. Now, Rabobank started with what we call a local cooperative empowerment. They began as rural credit unions in various rural regions, where they pool savings from farmers to fund modernization efforts. So if we're going to look at the insight from Rabobank, what we're encouraging poultry farmers in Oyo State to do is to form investment-ready cooperatives. We know that, yes, you have some cooperatives that are already existing. Investment-ready cooperatives for bulk purchasing, feed security, and market access. When we get to the panel session, we are going to be speaking to, because ingredient suppliers or raw material suppliers, they are to sell their market. Do we understand? Even despite the fact that the price of maize and soya came down, do you notice that it took a lot of time for the price of feed to drop? They are here. I'm not looking at their faces. Do we understand? It took a time for the price of feed to drop. And the moment they realized that the price of egg was not coming down, some of them went to the press and they started saying the price of egg will soon drop. Which kind of prophecy is that? When farmers are operating at 50% of their capacity. So, another thing that Rabobank was able to do was to structure their financial inclusion. They were able to model and they prioritize farmer-centric financing. So what do we mean? And I want to encourage financiers that are here. The same way you are going to finance a trading company is not the same way you are going to finance a production company. Every farm is a production enterprise. Do we agree? For each of your birds on your farm, they are either producing egg for you or they are producing meat. And it takes raw material for you to feed into them before you can get the output. If those raw materials are not correct, what happens to your output? So let's be careful about marketers when they market products to us. Because if you are not careful, you are likely to buy. Let them show you their results before you decide to purchase from them. For your state, it means that we need to design cooperative frameworks that can attract institutional investors. It is not bank money that will help us. That's the fact. What will help us are institutional patient capital financing. That they can wait 20 years before they get their returns back. Do we understand? And everybody can grow from having just 100 birds to 500 to 5,000 and, up until when God will help you. Someone told me that an individual should not manage more than 50,000 layer birds. I don't know how far that is true. I'll still find out from a lot of mentors I have here that when your layer birds is more than 50,000, make sure you either downsize or you maintain whatever you have. But I think our mentors in the industry will be able to tell us what is correct. So, that's for Rabobank. Another one I mentioned, the third one, is the Land Use Farmers Cooperative. And I'm going to be speaking to the innovation about their concept. They were able to introduce what we call a conduit platform that offers low-cost financing, insurance, and data-driven tools. We should be able to go to a bank and borrow money that is designed for broiler farmers. Do we understand? We should be able to go to a bank and borrow money that is designed for layer farmers. We should be able to approach our bank and borrow money that is designed for a feed miller. Not that the same money they are giving to every other person is the same thing they want to negotiate with farmers. Farmers may never repay, honestly. So, for your state, it translates that we need farmer-centered technology platforms that can help us with real price tracking. If I ask everybody here, how much is the price of egg? One thing I've seen with Pan or your state is that Okeogun people, you will not hear their price. Do you know why? If you ask any Okeogun person here, how much are they selling egg? They may not answer you. I'm sure Omokwa. We can try it though. You realize that they will not answer you because they want to manage whatever they are producing at their markets. They don't want influx from Oyo and Ogbomoso and Ibadan. Because the moment they tell you their price, Ibadan people will move eggs to their side, Oyo will move. And at the end of the day, they are not able to sell. So, but that is changing because I should say that one of the things we did with Oyo State, Poultry Association, from November 22 up until yesterday, we have done well over 1 million eggs that we have been able to, channel access to markets beyond Oyo State. And I think that is something we need to appreciate PAN executives for. Now, what that has done is that if you ask people in other southwest states, they will tell you that in December there was glut. But in Oyo State, there was no reported incidence of glut. If you check, go and look at the records very well. It was because we were able to move that volume of eggs to a major off-taker, and they were able to actually pay for it. I also know that farms have shut down, right? But what I'm trying to say is that by the time we expand all these opportunities, the issue of glut is going to be a thing of the past by God's grace. Sustainability partnership. So one of the things that Landus also does is that they collaborate with a lot of other private sector firms. In this case, Indigo Ag. And what they did was to link farmers to carbon credit markets and premium buyers. Poultry cooperatives. I want you to notice something. I'm not just talking about poultry farms. I'm talking about poultry cooperatives. So poultry cooperatives can partner with private firms to create sustainability certifications for poultry products. So, I want us to bring out the lessons in all these three examples I've given. So, for the banking sector example that I'm using in this presentation, one of the things they did was that they were able to adapt and innovate. Poultry farmers, poultry cooperatives, we need to adapt to the economic conditions where we find ourselves. And we must be able to innovate. If we ask anybody here that has been in the poultry business for more than 20 years, they will tell you that they are still here because they stayed. I've had time to speak to so many of them. They didn't just come in for 5 years, and when they saw the problem, they ran out. No. They were able to stay with the problem, innovate around the problem, and now, we can celebrate them today. So long-standing banks evolve with technology and customer needs. So for poultry cooperatives, we must be able to adapt using digital tools, traceability systems, and real-time advisory platform to support their member farms and remain competitive. I'm talking about the cooperatives, supporting their member farms. The second lesson, structured financial inclusion. The banks grew by creating structures that support savings, loans, and reinvestment. Poultry cooperatives should serve as financial intermediaries, organizing farmers to access affordable credit, manage risk, and enable growth. I will explain this, please. I think it's high time for banks to stop lending to individual farmers. And please, before you crucify me, I want you to hear me out. So there's a data I have access to of one of the financial institutions. The loan they borrowed to farmers was well over 200. And 187 have not paid back. Do we understand? 200 borrowed money. 187 have not paid back the money. Will they loan money to other farmers? So the fact is that if we structure ourselves into cooperatives, we have also been able to check with the cooperative end. People don't hold money in cooperatives. So, do we understand what I just said? In the cooperative, people don't owe money. You know why? Because there's cross guaranteeing inside the cooperative. Before I can take money, I will need 2 or 3 people that can guarantee the money I want to take. And if they don't pay, if I don't pay, they will pay. Do you understand? So let the bank stop borrowing individual farmers and let them borrow their cooperatives. And let the cooperative manage the resources and be able to pay back farmers. But with a caveat, if we have experienced farmers, people that have weathered the storm, 15, 20 years, they have track record of what they have done, the banks will not even come and ask anybody before they will even be begging them to come and take the facility. Do we understand? So it's important for us to understand that while we are still growing, it is best we put ourselves together in cooperatives and be able to, and I like the structure of PAN, especially in Oyo State. So we got to know that PAN has 37 chapters, if I'm correct. And these 37 chapters, we identified that we have over 30 cooperatives in each of those chapters. That's a wonderful structure. And please, let's give a round of applause to PAN in Oyo State. And Baba, thank you very much, because we saw a lot of your handworks in some of these chapters. The third one is about collective strength and local empowerment. Poultry cooperatives should mirror this by aggregating resources for bulk purchases, feed security, and shared infrastructure. By the time the banks have borrowed the cooperative money, then we can go to FDH. We can go to New Hope. We can go to any of these inputs sellers and tell them that, oh, we have a farm. What's the capacity of your farm? 100,000. The person that is representing the cooperative may not have 5,000 birds. I want us to understand. But he's speaking on behalf of the collectiveness of his members. And because of that volume, not only will they invite him to come and meet the MD, he's going to be able to negotiate something that is much more better on behalf of every other person. So there's strength when we unite. The fourth one talks about diversification for sustainability. Poultry cooperatives should explore value-added products. Let us stop selling our eggs as we are selling them. A crate of packaged eggs is sold for 8,500, 9,000 naira in the supermarket. Where I stay around Oluyole in Ibadan, a crate of eggs is sold for 6,500. Whereas at the farm gates, 4,008, 4,009, in some cases, maybe 5,000. And you can imagine the gap. So what if poultry farmers around Ibadan Southwest, Ido, are able to group themselves into this cluster that we are talking about? And they can control egg consumption within that territory. You can choose to sell for 5,005 or 6,000. And you're able to make, the profit that you're supposed to make. The fifth one, in terms of this lesson, please don't let's forget that I'm still speaking to the lessons that we are getting from the banking structure. Digital integration and partnerships. Poultry cooperatives in Oyo can partner with fintech and agri-tech firms to offer similar support, improving efficiency and transparency. So, if we leverage on some of these things, if I ask everybody now, if they want to send money to you and they say you should drop your account, 80% of people here, which account are you going to drop? Zenith Bank or OPay? Okay. I'll pick what I want. So if I ask anybody here, why are you picking OPay? It's faster and it's efficient. Sorry, OPay is not part of those that paid us here. So I'm not advertising for them. But what I'm trying to talk about is that efficiency and speed is going to beat even the best of the banks. And that's why, there's nothing they want to do to it. So I expect a time to come when poultry farmers, especially in Oyo State, will be able to have their own bank. And it is possible in less than 5 years if we get our act right. When we have our own bank, it is easier to be able to negotiate and be able to loan money that we know that is going to be profitable to our members. The sixth one here, in terms of the lesson and the final one, is business continuity and succession planning. Cooperatives and member farms must professionalize leadership, train successors, and document systems to ensure sustainability across generations. Please, I will spend some time on this because I'll be speaking to this continuously in my presentation. Enough of creating businesses that we want to hand over to our children. Let us build structures and systems. The moment you have 10,000 capacity farm and you have a loyal staff that has served you for 5 years and above, set them up. within your business. Set them up within your business, put the right structures and systems in place, and you realize that after you must have gone, let's say you live 100 years, because they're already part of your business. But if you structure the business well, you can allocate the shares of the business to your children. So even if they don't live in Nigeria, or even if they are not interested, what it means is that they can always go back and say, we have 10% stake in that business. And they can pay lawyers, they can pay experts to be able to help them structure what they are doing. Most of our businesses in Nigeria, they don't live beyond their founders because we are building something that is just meant for ourselves and our families alone. Some of the people I've met in this industry, they will not have left where they started from if they've taken care of them in that structure. I know we have our own issues traditionally, but there are ways that we can always deal with some of these things. I'll be speaking to some of these things as we go in my presentation. So, I'm going to explain something that we call the corporation cooperative framework. And please, I want us to please pay attention. In order to break the cycle of poultry business failure, we must transition from a fragmented, individually driven model to a cooperative and investment-backed system. The corporation cooperative framework is a proven model that is used in leading agricultural economies. And I'm going to be speaking to how this works. I won't have much time to explain this, but it will give us an insight into what I mean about the corporation cooperative framework. I want us to look at what we have up here. In green, what do we have there? Finance. Can anybody imagine kini? Come on, damn anything. Finance is why we are all here, because we want to protect our businesses. Now, if you look at the black space, you have what we call the value chain cooperative. So what it means is that if you bring broiler value chain and you put it inside this place, the same structure applies. If you bring layer business and you put it into the value chain, it applies. But what I want to point here is this. Every poultry farmer starts with a poultry farm. Is that correct? Then you start to think of how you want to save costs on feed. Then you start milling feed yourself. Right? By the time you start to mill feed and your farm capacity is growing, you have a feed mill. By the time you have a feed mill, if my farm is not too far from your place, I'll come and meet you and say, just actually my mill for you. And they start to mill. Before you know it, the second version of the business sets up, which is the feed mill. Now, by the time that sets up and they start to sell, they realize that, you know what, I think this our feed mill has evolved into a commercial feed mill, and everybody is coming to come and mill in their space. But because they also want to be profitable, you realize that every farmer too will take that same step, start their own feed mill, and it has become a structure. Now, what this is saying is that if you are a producer, stay as a producer. Be efficient as a producer. But be a part of a cooperative that can own feed mills or that can support existing feed millers within the cooperative. And when it comes to negotiation, the cooperative is negotiating on behalf of the member farms. And everybody can operate profitably within that structure. If you don't tell us how much your production cost is, nobody will know within your cooperative. And you can tell your members, don't sell leg more than 5,000 naira per crate. And we can see that we are going to start to see some impact in this space. And when it comes to processed and packaged foods, raw materials, value addition, even exports and setting up industries, if it is cooperative driven, let farmers remain as producers. Scale your operation from 10,000 to 20,000 to 50,000 if God permits you, even to 100,000. But make sure that the structure you have is circled around a cooperative. And at the end of the day, one thing I should also mention is that you can start a cooperative within your own farm. The moment you realize that you have grown to a level, your workers can be the initial cooperative you are going to start with. Don't start if you have less than 1,000 birds. So I'm just saying. But the moment you start to have an appreciable number, start a cooperative within your structure. The feed mill you want to go and start, you can register it as a second business. Hold on to 90% of the stake. Give 10% to that loyal staff that has served you for 10 years or 5 years. And let them earn over time based on their loyalty and whatever. And gradually you can divest some of those stock options to them. We can discuss this much more deeply in other cooperative sessions. But what I'm trying to point here is that what this model does is to make input manufacturers to stay as input manufacturers, either as an hatchery operator or as a feed miller. While producers can operate as a producer, distributors can operate as distributors, and we can have that inclusion level. So, the model I just showed us, I'll just run through the key benefits. When it comes to bulk purchase of inputs, I've mentioned this. It reduces feed costs through collective procurement and direct engagement with feed manufacturers. Don't go as a single farmer that you have less than 5,000 birds to go and negotiate with feed millers. Make sure you go collectively as a cooperative, get the best price for your cooperative, then let them supply you directly. I know that some feed distributors will not like what I'm saying, because cooperatives are supposed to be the feed distributors themselves, so that we are not taking advantage of ourselves unduly, and for everybody to have what we call shared prosperity. Now, when it comes to egg and broiler aggregation centers, I've used Ayooluwa as an example. We should have egg aggregation centers when people can drive to and buy. There's something I've seen around our environment now. You see a lot of people park their cars. They put crate of eggs on top. Is that always cheaper than when you go into the store to go and buy? Egg is egg. I understand that when it comes to quality, you won't know until when you open it. Do we understand? Cooperative-based financing, I have mentioned this. We can attract large-scale investors who prefer structured cooperatives over individual farmers. It is not that it is impossible to get 2% interest rates, but we can only get it from institutional investors, not from banks, because even CBN will give them the limits of what they need to operate with. So, so why are we running to them? I have two other points here. Digital integration for traceability and risk management. I'll give an example. One of the reasons I said I wasn't interested in farming was because I would not have sat for my JSS3 exam. My father would not have been able to pay for my JSS3 exam because of some set of birds that we brought into our farm. And it was after they entered 32 weeks that we realized that it was not from the source. I was saying that the reason I'm not interested to go into farming is because my experience when I was in GSS3, my dad was not able to pay for my, what do we call it, GSCE. Because there was a problem. Because we were dealing with the issue, before that time. So how many of that is the experience of some farmers today? When you want to buy day-old chicks from CHI or Zatec, and they have told you it is original from Zatec or from CHI, but you are going to get it to your farm and start to raise them before you realize that it is Ido or whatever does not, breeder farms that don't have any address. If we don't fix that, the poultry industry cannot survive. That's the fact. So we need to build on traceability systems that can help us know if I can verify where the source of these day-old chicks is from. Our cooperative can hold ZATEC responsible and be able to say, come. 20 farmers look bad here at the same time. 18 of them are having similar issues. And you're able to bring experts to come and help you validate what is the source of the problem. And if you can establish to say, this is where the problem came from. 20 of our farmers have been affected. I'm using ZATEC. I'm not saying they have good products. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that a lot of adulterators have picked up their name and they are marketing using their name in order for them to make their own profits, which needs to stop. Our cooperative systems can actually help us achieve that. Succession planning and business continuity. We need to ensure that poultry businesses outlive their founders by creating sustainable wealth and industry resilience. So I created something that we call the 4 pillars of strategic investment for poultry sustainability. Feed security is number 1. We need to scale up alternative feed solutions. Maize is a major factor in poultry industry. Do we agree? But the reality is that we must find a replacement for maize. It might not be 100%, but the same maize that my children are going to fight for in the morning when they are going to school, when they are taking maybe pap or any cereal that they are taking, is the same maize that the bird on the farm is also fighting for. And we are not producing enough. In as much as I know that cooperatives can come together and produce large expanse of maize and all of that, but that's not our business. We need to be able to focus on what we are doing. So we need to explore alternative feed ingredient solutions that can reduce our costs. The second one is that we need to invest in existing local feed mills. I was happy to hear that Baba is the pioneer of toll milling in this country. Our toll mills should not die. Commercial feed mills are important, but we need to support the toll millers because they are indigenously owned and they can help us manipulate with feed and all these raw materials that we're having issues with. The second pillar is what we call value addition and market expansion. We need to invest in processed poultry products in order to be able to create premium market value. Some farmers are already exploiting this. And when I say exploit, it's not in the negative sense. They are exploiting their knowledge of, if I add value, I can sell more. Some farmers have also decided to say, you know what, I won't go into production. I will only stay at the point of processing and access to markets. They need to be a part of our cooperatives. They are not supposed to be alone. And if they set up their own separate cooperatives, it is important for us to shake hands. So when we produce, this cooperative can offtake. And I know a lot of as-grower programs has failed in this country. And if you talk to the as-grower people, they will say that farmers, don't trust them all. You give them everything. You go to their farm. You won't see anything again. But there's a way we can still structure it. If it is within a cooperative, even the farmer will be scared of absconding. Because 3 or 4 other people are also monitoring what he's doing. They are the first people they will say, hey, Joe, is it part of their cooperative? We are able to, put in that compliance level. Packaging and branding of eggs is something we need to look into, for export and even for domestic consumption. We need to integrate cold storage, especially broiler farmers. You must have cooperatives that can integrate cold storage. If you don't have the capacity yet, go and form an alignment with an existing processor that has invested into cold rooms. Process your birds, keep it with them, and you can sell for a good market price at the point of sale. Branding and export for for poultry meat, especially broiler. The third one out of these 4 pillars is what I call digitalization and smart farming. Most poultry farmers, we are absentee farmers. We don't live on our farm, most of us. I'm not saying some don't live on their farms. We put the destiny of our poultry business in the hands of farm attendants. And at times, when you see when they are feeding, they will just carry feed and pour from top like this. And at times, I used to wonder, the lysine metolene that is just, powder, and it's also very small in a ton, will have been wasted. So we need to train our farm attendants and also make sure that, we put some level of digitalization in place to help them with the routine management of what they do on the farm. I don't have, much time to talk about blockchain, but it's one of the things that will save the industry from all the problems that we are facing. The fourth one is what I call access to cooperative investment and financing. I can never overemphasize this. Investors are willing to fund structured cooperatives. We heard the other time from the chairman of Ibadan Chambers of Commerce that money is available. I can tell you there is money that is available. But you cannot access it if you don't structure yourself together as a group. We need to leverage partnerships with development and finance institutions and impact investors for financial backing. As I close, I want to talk about what we call the roadmap for your state poultry farmers. For us to build a resilient and sustainable poultry sector, poultry farmers must take deliberate steps to restructure their operations, embrace innovation, and foster collective action. We need to form cooperative investment clusters. I'm repeating what I've said. Small-scale farmers, if you have less than 5,000 birds, make sure you are a part of a cooperative. The cooperatives must be digitally profiled to enhance traceability and improve access to financial services and investment opportunities. The second one is feed cost reduction strategies. Within our cooperative, we are going to see people that have the expertise and the experience in feed cost reduction. And we can leverage on that relationship for us to be able to build our own feed cost reduction mechanisms. We need to incorporate cost-effective protein sources such as insect meal. I know it's not presently available at scale, but the cooperative can invest into it and be able to see what we can bring out of it. We need to invest in local feed mills. I've mentioned this, that will help the cooperatives to reduce dependency on imported feed ingredients and cut production costs. The third one is that we need to establish poultry aggregation centers. I've mentioned this. The fourth one, we need to collaborate with government and the private sector. I should say this. Government is not our problem. We need to structure ourselves for us to be able to compete and negotiate with the government. If any politician knows today that there are 37 chapters of PAN in every local government in these states, they will listen to us. Do you hear what I said? Government is not our problem. We must be able to make sure that we structure ourselves enough to be able to negotiate for what we want, and that will help us. We need to encourage partnership with the private sector actors and co-invest in cooperative-led infrastructure, processing, and logistics products. Building a legacy for the future. Poultry farmers should embed succession planning into their business models to ensure continuity across generations. We need to adopt digital technologies to modernize our farming operations, and we need to consider divesting farm investment into cooperative structures. I will need to explain this. By the time we structure our cooperative, don't let us just be cooperative members. With time, let's start to divest some of our investments into that cooperative structure. Because over time, we have been able to build resilience together. So by the time you are 60 or you are 70, and you are no more interested in practicing active poultry business, your farm facility can be available to the cooperative on lease. And some other farmers that are coming up, they are using the facility for their own production. And you get to have some things from that. We need to address the core structural barriers. As I mentioned, feed costs, market stability, and access to finance. For us to secure our legacy and build poultry farms that last, we should not just see poultry farming as just a business. It should be seen as a legacy that we want to make sure it outlives us. But it requires some careful planning to ensure they thrive beyond the founders. And as member cooperative farms, we must be able to have unique advantage building businesses that endure. The first thing to do is succession planning. Mentorship is important. I don't have time to go in detail into all of this, but I think this presentation will be made available to our chapter representatives so we can actually get it from them. Mentorship is important. We must be able to pair experienced poultry farmers with younger ones. We need to have what we call a knowledge vault. We should not allow Baba, when Baba clocks 110, or anytime Baba wants to leave us, he should not live with the knowledge that he has built in the last well over 50 years. So we need to create what we call a knowledge vault. Equity incentives. We must be able to offer partial ownership, I have mentioned this, to loyal staff. I'm not saying our children, staff. Even if it is 1% or 2%. And they should be able to, so this will encourage them to drive long-term commitment. The number 2 is governance. I termed it beyond family management. We must build transparent leaderships for us to be able to allow these people to trust us. Professional talent. Let us hire experienced technologists, veterinarians, and pay them well. A lot of people, you will hire OND, HND holders. Those that are supposed to be farm technicians and farm technologists, and you want to pay them 20,000. Abba. These people have been sent to school for 3, 4 years, 6 years, and you want to treat them like a secondary school graduate. Things need to change. So let's hire professionals. We should separate ownership from management. It is important that our children can inherit ownership without managing the daily operations. But we can build a professional management team that has a stake in the business, and they're able to take the business much more further. The third one is financial buffers. I know that the MC is standing. I need 10 minutes more. Thank you. Financial buffers to be able to diversify our revenue. We need to be able to go beyond raw eggs and process our product. Let us keep what we call rainy day fund in our cooperatives, so that when we have issues, we have something that can serve as a shock in days when we have challenges. The third point here is that we must know our numbers. We must be able to track our production costs and collaborate with value chain actors to establish profitable and data-backed enterprise models. I've spoken about technology. Technology is your friend. We can use it to monitor flock health and stay connected. Let's make sure that we embrace this. The fifth one, we need to work together for success. Again, cooperative identity. Belong to a cooperative. And from there, we can also share knowledge within the cooperative. The sixth one is what I call heritage succession. Ownership for the next generation. You can pass down ownership to your children, even if they are not involved into day-to-day operations. There's a reason for me to be repeating what I'm repeating. I just want to make sure that it sinks. They become investors benefiting from the farm's success. You can have a lawyer as a child, but let him know that, okay, we have shares in Agro-Meris Cooperative, or we have it in the Yabeji Cooperative, or so that Maflo will not be, you are part of Agro-Meris. So we have a lot of cooperatives here. So we can build the shares of the cooperative and be able to extend it to our children. Compliance-driven enterprise benefits. We should be able to offer incentives before shares to our staff for them to be able to be a part of what we're saying. So, there's a need for us to support the next generation. For those that are experienced in the industry, make sure you can divest a part of your investment into a cooperative that can support the upcoming ones. I should not want to start a poultry farm and be looking for a facility that I'm going to rent for 10 million. When I can lease it for something cheaper and I can grow, within that same structure. The second point here, when we divest our investment into the cooperative structure, the second value is that it will increase the investment value in the cooperative. If we are 10 in our cooperative and we all have an investment value of 10 million, that's 100 million, right? If we loan the 100 million house as a loan at 10% interest rate per annum, how much is that? 10 million. So what it means is that over the years, we can have an increment of 10% on our investments, that in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, our children can actually harvest it and it will be meaningful to them. Even our land, the farmland, can be an investment asset. The third one is that it ensures generational transfer when we divest our investment into the cooperative structure. It also helps us to preserve farm assets. A lot of developers, they bought all the farms and they are using it for real estate now. A time will come when we not have farm land to be able to farm on again, God forbid. The fifth one, from this point, I think that's the fourth part. So as I close, focusing on these strategies to ensure that poultry farms become sustainable businesses. You build not just a farm, but a legacy. Remember, success is not just about profits. It's about building a business that contributes to your community, respect the environment, and provides a future for your family and the cooperative as a whole. I'm charging us that the future is now, and I want us to, as distinguished poultry farmers, the survival of the poultry industry depends on our collective actions today. We can no longer operate in silos and rely on outdated models that do not secure our businesses beyond our lifetime. When we embrace cooperative synergy, strategic investment and proven insights from sectors like banking and agriculture as a business, we can then secure our enterprises, build wealth, ensure food security, and elevate Nigeria's poultry industry. As I close, let us build the future of poultry farming together. And I want to thank you very much for your attention.